part two of the Pride Trust story. As I said, the Pride Committee was not really one single thing. It was actually several committees, in fact, several subcommittees. A women's working group, we had a bisexual working group, we had a people of colour working group, we had a trans working group, human resources, we had a bisexual working group, disabled access, we had a march working group. The main one was the festival and events working group, which was the FEWG or FUGE, and it also had lots of subgroups. The control, security, insurance and communication group, which was known as CSIC. There was the License, Contracts and Equipment Group, which was known as LICE, and there was the Service, Logistics and Utilities Group, which was known as, you've guessed it, as SLUT. You name it, we had a working group for it. You can tell that I really loved all this stuff. We deliberately had all these subgroups because if you're a voluntary organisation, the people who work for you are actually volunteers and they don't have a lot of time. But the tasks are huge. So you have to break the tasks down into small blobs and parcel them out to people. And then people join a group, they do that task, they get what they want out of the organisation and they feel satisfied in that they've made a contribution. The downside is that it's very difficult to build a strong organisation on that basis. And just to give you an idea of what my life was like at that time, I was working like everybody who was a director, everybody actually apart from Teddy, working full time. Doing a 9-to-5 job, and at 5 o'clock I would finish that job and would get on the tube and travel down to Brixton. We moved the office to the Eurolink Centre, which was much nicer, although it became absolutely packed with stuff. I remember probably be there from 7 o'clock till 11 o'clock having meetings, 12 o'clock sometimes, and then would get on the last tube, or I would take a taxi and travel from Brixton all the way north to Muswell Hill where I lived. I mean, when I look back on it now, I cannot believe that that was my life. One of the things that I was then interested in doing as the chair was exploring the possibility of remunerating the directors. Because we were a company limited by guarantee, we had something like, I think at the most, probably 400 or 500 members, and they were the voting body. So I brought a motion to the EGM 1994, so the 14th of January 1994. I wrote here, we were quorate, although I didn't inquire further. We took Teddy's word for it. Consideration of the unaudited accounts and the mission statement very interesting. Some good responses and generally everyone very impressed. The March theme was accepted. That was 25 years out and proud, equality and freedom now. Then the remuneration to the directors was debated. Eric Presland, he also managed the cabaret tent at Pride for years and years. Eric threw a spanner in the works and said he didn't agree with the idea. The committee was marvellous at the moment, but what about the future? One horrible example which came to mind was the Lesbian and Gay Centre, with remunerated directors and a voluntary staff who were just ripped off. Kim Lucas spoke in favour of the committee and against the remuneration. Things were getting hot for me. I basically was proposing this. So I wrote a note to Teddy. Help me out, I wrote. And he wrote, for my part, I agree with Eric. The voting meant that the resolution fell, and I didn't call on the proxies, so there were part of proxy votes there as well. It was, I think, absolutely the right decision.